Imagine waking up to headlines that your country's billion-dollar missile defenses were gone in less than the time it takes to brew coffee. That's exactly what citizens in China experienced as images of cratered silos spread online faster than officials could censor them. Here in the West, we ask, how does a strike this fast echo across global security, and what does it mean for any nation clinging to traditional ideas of deterrence? Let's unpack what Iron Torch reveals about the future of war and survival. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Why would the United States risk igniting global chaos with a strike on China's most secure missile facilities? To answer that, you have to understand what was buried in the sands of Xinjiang. Deep in reinforced silos sat the DF-41 missile system, the weapon Beijing considered its greatest shield against outside pressure. These weren't just ordinary missiles stored in ordinary bunkers, they were intercontinental pieces of hardware with the power to cross the Pacific in less time than a television program and deliver nuclear warheads onto American cities. For Washington, watching them multiply in the desert wasn't just a strategic concern. It was a ticking clock. The DF-41 was designed to be more than a deterrent. Each missile carried multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, meaning one launch could rain down as many as 10 nuclear warheads on different sites. Every silo represented not one threat, but a cluster of them. Hardened concrete domes, reinforced substructures, and layers of camouflage were intended to make the system resilient to anything short of a direct nuclear hit. In practice, that meant China believed these sites gave it an untouchable hand in any negotiation or confrontation. The ability to bypass traditional defenses and strike thousands of miles away in under half an hour redefined what readiness meant. And for U.S. commanders staring at those maps, the possibility of waiting out such a buildup seemed like handing Beijing all the leverage in the next standoff. What haunted analysts in Washington wasn't only the technology itself, but the scale of its expansion. Satellite images kept revealing new construction footprints, grids of silos appearing across remote stretches where no civilian development had reason to exist. Convoys of tanker trucks delivering liquid fuel to isolated bases showed up in infrared scans. Fresh radar uplinks began buzzing with activity at times that didn't match routine tests. Individually, none of these movements declared war. Taken together, it looked like someone was rehearsing for it. The United States had seen this kind of pattern before in history. Weapons networks thought to be defensive, suddenly maturing into tools of intimidation. From Cold War missile crises to preemptive strikes in the Middle East, the lesson was always the same. Hesitation often had a cost that outstripped early action. Within intelligence briefings, the central question hung heavy. Could conventional explosives carried by aircraft or standoff weapons truly incapacitate hardened silos intended to withstand even nuclear shockwaves? Engineers argued that precision-guided penetrators might achieve what brute force could not. Doubters worried that launching such an operation without certainty risked revealing American weakness instead of strength. But the danger of inaction loomed larger. Every new DF-41 rolling out meant an exponential jump in China's retaliatory reach. Waiting could mean a future in which U.S. carriers, bases, or even the Pentagon itself would be silent under the shadow of missiles already prepositioned for launch. And so, what began as whispered briefings transformed into a high-stakes plan. Operation Iron Torch wasn't designed to occupy territory or topple governments. Its goal was sharper, narrower, and far more dangerous, to prove that even the crown jewels of Chinese deterrence could be cracked open with conventional force. The concept sounded reckless in the abstract, cratering million-ton batteries of reinforced concrete with precision weapons. But within the Pentagon, models and simulations kept pointing to the same conclusion. With the right tools, at the right moment, the impossible could be done. That moment came, and 14 minutes after the first strike order, 3 silos stood as scorched pits in the desert. Billions of dollars in security investments were reduced to rubble before Chinese commanders could even complete a warning transmission. To the planners of Iron Torch, the weapons were not just destroyed. The untouchable myth surrounding them was obliterated as well. Yet what came next traveled even faster than the shockwaves of the explosions. The images of shattered silos weren't confined to military channels or classified briefings. They spilled into the digital world, and before long, the entire globe was watching the strike unfold in real time. How did a smoking crater in Xinjiang ignite a digital wildfire with over 120 million mentions worldwide? The answer begins with a shaky handheld recording posted anonymously and then downloaded, shared, and re-uploaded across countless accounts. The grainy clip showed dust clouds billowing from a ruptured missile silo and fragments of twisted concrete ringing a pit wide enough to swallow several buses. Viewers could see the outer hatch bent inward, like a locked vault door torn from its hinges, proof that something considered invulnerable had been pried open in minutes. Within hours, commercial satellite operators followed up with sharper images, each one circulating on Twitter, Telegram, and YouTube. By the time Beijing censors moved to scrub the footage from domestic networks, those images had already made their way into timelines on every continent. Officials in Beijing scrambled. Mandarin language statements dismissed the videos as fabrications, insisting that the alleged damage was nothing more than doctored propaganda. But reality filtered through VPN tunnels at rates authorities couldn't contain. Searches for banned terms surged, and software downloads for secure browsers rocketed upward inside China. Citizens who had never before bypassed state filters suddenly learned how not to follow global celebrity news, but to confirm whether their nation's most prized weapons had been compromised. Every deletion seemed to fuel suspicion rather than suppress it. The harder censors pushed, the more determined people became to see what was being hidden. Outside of China, hashtags exploded. Some embraced simple labels like #IronTorch to reference the operation by name. Others used more pointed terms such as #CraterDoctrine, suggesting this strike had rewritten the assumptions of nuclear deterrence. What began as a localized military report had transformed into an online debate about China's vulnerability. Memes compared the billion-dollar DF-41 silos to tin cans split by precision bombs. Analysts, activists, and casual users alike turned threads into miniature battlegrounds, arguing over what it meant for the future of modern warfare. In less than 2 days, the conversation became a referendum not just on Beijing's defenses, but on whether any fortress could stand against weapons designed for surgical destruction. Crowds at Liberty Square in Taipei erupted in chants celebrating the strike, waving banners that showed still frames from the viral clips. Drone strikes against Chinese installations, once theoretical in public messaging, were now cheered openly as if they had occurred on Taiwan's behalf. The tone on the ground was more than joy. It was relief. Relief that China's arsenal was not, in fact, untouchable. For leaders in Beijing, the sight of Taiwanese citizens celebrating the destruction of Chinese missile sites may have been more stinging than the loss of the equipment itself. The strike demonstrated that 21st century wars are not only fought with cruise missiles, drones, or bunker-busting munitions. They are fought with camera phones, leaked footage, and hashtags accelerating faster than official responses. If images could reshape the perception of power in mere hours, the questions about what came next stretched far beyond the battlefield itself. The political, economic, and alliance strategies waiting in the aftermath would be altered by a fact no one could ignore. The images of Iron Torch raced just as fast as the missiles that created them. A 14-minute strike shattered more than silos. It shattered the idea that oceans, bunkers, and distance still guaranteed safety. Once the impacts registered, every strategist tracking the event understood that invulnerability was an illusion. The reach of modern precision systems cut through it faster than old doctrines could adjust. If wars are no longer just fought with missiles, but with streams of footage and trending hashtags, then deterrence belongs to those who master speed, precision, and the story the world sees. The question is simple, yet daunting. How should nations prepare if the next Iron Torch targets them, online or off?